I'm Aristotle, back from my grave. I'm a Greek philosopher that made many achievements in my life, which I will talk about later. I was born in 384 BCE in Sagira, Greece, a coastal city on Greece's northern shore that borders Macedonia. I had a family full of educated, smart people, most of which were doctors. My father was actually a court physician to King Amyntas III of Macedonia. I was in a family full of doctors, but yet my parents both died when I was young, and I was orphaned to a family close of mine. I lived my childhood years there, and when I turned 17, I moved to Athens to go to the most prestigious school in Greece, Plato's Academy. There I learned and taught for about 20 years. I respected my teacher Plato, but also criticized some of his ideas. One day, though, Plato died and passed his school along to his nephew, Speusippus. I became furious because I thought his most gifted student, me, should run the school after his death. I then moved to Mysia in Asia Minor to live with my former students, Assos and Lesbos. There I learned by watching or observing the world around me. I would use this later in my life when I taught once again. I made breakthroughs in biology, mainly marine biology. Also, while I was in Asia Minor, I married a woman named Pythias and also had a daughter named Pythias. Pretty soon, King Philip II of Macedonia asked me to tutor his young son named Alexander. This was the person who would soon be known as Alexander the Great, arguably the best leader and tactician of all time. After this, I moved back to Athens. When I arrived in Athens, I was an outcast. Nobody knew who I was. I rented out an old wrestling school called the Lyceum. I turned it into a school. I taught science there, and as always, learned more. I mainly studied and taught science and biology. I taught science through physical objects and observation. In biology, I started putting animals into groups or families. My groupings, though some were proved wrong today, were the standard for hundreds of years to come. I had soon built up the greatest school in Greece. Then the Macedonian government fell, and Alexander the Great was overthrown, and I was charged with association to him. I was wanted and moved to the island of Euboea, where I lived for a year before dying. Finally, let's talk about my writings. I had many works that I had written. I wrote around 200, but only 30 survive today. Most of my works were either written in Asia Minor or at the Lyceum. The first category of my works are called organons. These were based on logistical outcomes and theories. I cannot lay claim to all of these because some of them were helped written by Andronicus of Rhodes. My next category I called metaphysics, which you guessed it, were based on physics and natural science. My next works were called rhetoric. These were based on persuasion and deliberate things. I was so influential on rhetoric that I was often called the father of rhetoric. My last section of works are poetics. These were based mainly on dramatic theory. People cared about me and my works because of my ideals and ideas. My ideas being my theories and my knowledge of the world around me. These were really embraced by the people of the Renaissance era. My ideals were how to act and behave in the presence of other people. They were the things to believe and do. Some of my famous quotes were, "The roots of education are bitter, but the fruits are sweet." The mark of an educated mind is to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. And finally, happiness depends upon ourselves. Thank you for listening, and back to my grave I shall until my knowledge is needed again.